So this is the third section of Rabbi Gershon Chenekh's writings on Yom Kippur. Again, we're touching on one of the central ideas of Radzin and Ishbitz Chassidus called Tikifut, and it's important to know that Tikifut is not, it was presented in the last segment as something that could lead to arrogance, but it's important to know it's not just a negative thing, it's also a very good thing. It's a point where man realizes he is a part of God so much to the point where his very desires he just goes ahead and does. So if man's heart is truly refined, he could act with tikifut, with this holy chutzpah, so to speak, and even do something that might be looked at, frowned upon by other people, but it's really what he has to do, and he's really doing what God wants from him. This is the antinomian flirtation that is so prevalent in Ishbitz Chassidus. So, of course, when he was talking about going outside of God's desires, he meant, he didn't mean anything that had to do with adultery or murder, or even anything remotely connected to these two immoral acts. He was talking about maybe praying late, or whatever, these things that you might consider fairly light, or might not even be in your worldview as something that's wrong. Even it's not. It's still. Let's just bear in mind that tikifut as a central idea in Ishbitz Radzin Chassidus, the holy chutzpah of not holding back, of going forth, like Adam, the first man Adam was the creation, the very handwork of God. So he figures whatever I want is exactly what God wants. That could be, that has its pleasures and its pitfalls. It has certain things, very positive aspects to it, and it could be abused in negative aspects, like just about anything in the world. So anyhow, let's get back to Yom Kippur. Truly, about not holding back and just going ahead is very connected to the first argument, the first claim that the moon brought before God with the completion of creation. So when God created the moon, sun and the moon, we have a little story. It says Rabbi Shimon ben Pazi pointed out a contradiction between two verses. One verse says, and God made the two great lights, and immediately the verse continues, the greater lights and the lesser lights. So at first it seems like they're both of equal stature, and then afterwards it says one is greater and one is lesser. So the moon said unto the Kadosh Baruch Hu, the moon said, Master of the world, Sovereign of the universe, is it possible for two kings to wear one crown? God answered back to the moon, Go and make yourself smaller. Master of the world, cried the moon, because I have suggested that which is proper, I have to make myself smaller? I have a good claim, the moon said. You said two great lights, and then you say one lesser and one greater? How can we both wear one crown? So the God said, you make yourself smaller. The moon says, I had a good claim. So God replied, go and you'll rule by day and by night. In other words, that the moon is going to shine at night and also be seen by day. And he said, the moon said, what's the value of this? Of what use is a lamp in broad daylight? In other words, the sun is basically ruling the day, and just because I can be seen, I don't rule. So God replied, go, and Israel will count the days and the years by you. In other words, the moon is integral in the calendar. The solar year is adjusted by the moon in order to make a perfect calendar. So the moon says, this is impossible. The moon says to do without the sun for the reckoning of the seasons. I mean, it's not. I'm not really. You're lying to me, God. The moon says. You're saying I'm going to be the source of the calendar. No, it's going to be joined together. So, as it is written, let them be for signs, for seasons, for days, and for years, both the sun and the moon. So it's not. I don't have control in the calendar. The moon wants some control. So God says, go. And the righteous will be named after you. As we find Jacob the small, Yaakov is mentioned Katan, small. Shmuel is described as small. King David is described as small, based on verses. On seeing that it would not be consoled, the moon wasn't no matter how much God tried to convince the moon and go towards the moon in this negotiation, the moon would not be consoled. So finally God said, the Holy One, blessed be He, said, bring an atonement for me that I have to make the moon smaller. That's what Shimon ben Lakish, the Talmudic sage, meant when he declared, why is the he-goat offered on the new moon? Why is it that the he-goat offered on the new is distinguished in that it is written concerning it's unto God? In other words, when we offer a he-goat on the new moon, we say it's unto God. It doesn't say that about other offerings. It said because the Holy One, blessed be He, said, let this goat be an atonement for me for having to make the moon smaller. And in our next segment, we're going to continue with the explanation.